Your identity is what makes you you. And just as I identify as a threat to anybody smaller than me, there are many people who find themselves identifying with certain subcultures and/or beliefs. VRChat is a treasure trove for this, as not only does it mirror many of our social structures found in real life, but it still keeps that ambiguous nature that comes with online. But today we'll be talking about one community that's, not often welcomed with open arms on the internet. As whether it's the boogeyman wooing in your closet or the shy wolf down the street, everyone has heard of this group in some sort of shape or form, but not everyone is educated on the topic. So with that said, how's it going, you beautiful sons of guns? My name's Dapper Saint, and welcome to the Degenerates Digest, where today we'll be delving further into the furry community of VR. So, as we get into this video, I do just want to say that, wait, aren't furries those people that loot everything? Yeah, I heard that they eat babies and kick puppies, and they all even have a copy of the Communist Manifesto! Not to mention, I'm sure that they don't even have any V-Bucks on Fortnite. If you say one more word, I swear to God. Okay, so a long time ago I made a video about the concept of ERP, and if there's one thing I learned from that video, it's the fact that you need to be a little bit more direct with this part. Keep in mind that the topic at hand may be a bit alien to the masses, but by no means is this an invitation for hate to judge those who live lives differently than yours. It's completely okay not to fully understand something, but there is a fine line difference between naivety and being jaded in one's beliefs, so know the difference. So hey, let's be civil to one another, and there are no, ifs, ands, or buts about that, alright? When it comes to defining what exactly a furry is, it's a lot harder than you might originally anticipate. The concept of furries has been around for quite some time now, even dating into the late 1900s. But due to the human language, well, kinda sucking, what is furry and what isn't furry is sometimes to be debated. Depending on whom you may ask, you may very well get a different answer, but a relatively safe definition is somebody who identifies or affiliates with an anthropomorphic animal, also known as a fursona. I think ultimately, however, it comes down to somebody choosing to identify as a furry for them to be considered a furry. After all, someone simply wearing an animal suit or liking a character that happens to be anthropomorphic doesn't instantly make you a furry. With that said, VRChat is home to one of the largest furry communities that comes to mind. Many events or even festivals such as Luma, an event that occurred earlier this year, happen in the virtual world, where these individuals sharing a community can come together to enjoy what they love. Oh, and let me just say that there are a ton of worlds made by furries for furries. A great example of that is where I am right now, the Furry Hub, one of many different social gathering locations. This place includes a lot of different areas for you to hang out with your fellow furries. But one of the biggest things that caught my attention was the absurd variety of avatars that could be found here. It's actually pretty crazy to see how many different styles there are. Talk about creativity. While we're on the topic of avatars though, I think one of the biggest examples of the presence of furries in VRChat is probably the Protogen. Yeah, one of the most iconic avatars that comes to mind is basically a furry avatar. But well, this isn't really surprising to me in the slightest. VRChat caters to the furry community perfectly, as in a world where you can quite literally be anything, being one with your fursona has never been so real. Also, if necessary, private worlds make it easy for this community to stay away from the negative nature that comes with the online world. But man, do I just want to add that making a furry avatar is not only cheaper, but way easier than a fursuit, cause jeez, those things are expensive. But enough of that. I think it's about time we talk about the not-so-metaphorical elephant in the room, as the concept of furries is bound to give some mixed opinions. Earlier in the grain of salt section, I did make some over-dramatized remarks about some of the things the furry community may hear, but truth be told, they may not be very far off the mark, as, man, do some people really hate furries. While I do feel like the recent decade or so has opened up to the furry community, there are still a lot of stereotypes and stigmas that do remain present. It's pretty safe to say that the furry community has been dragged through the dirt throughout the years, and a lot of that comes down to people finding any excuse to hate one another. That's sadly just human nature. But if there's one thing that definitely needs to be unpacked regarding this, it's furries being known for their lewdness. This is undoubtedly one of the first things that comes to anybody's mind regarding the community, and I think there's a lot to be said about that. So, I have known a lot of furries throughout the years, via people that I've ran into in VR, or even just friends I made throughout the years. I've even tried going to furry-related events out of sheer curiosity or for the research of this video. So with that said, you might be wondering, are the lewd accusations true? And well, yeah, basically, but that's not really the point. It's always puzzled me that this has been deemed their defining trait, as to come to that conclusion is basically looking at an entire community on a surface level. Furries are very expressive. That can be seen in their aforementioned presence in the virtual world. And what comes with that expression is a willingness to be open to who they are and the things that they like. We as individuals have boundaries, but the moment you come out of that safe safe zone, you often find yourself being more open to things or even gaining personal growth. It's why that one shy guy in high school can become an over-enthusiastic degenerate that makes shit posts on YouTube and even owns a maid outfit. And no, I will not elaborate why that is such a specific example, but what I'm trying to say is the fact that the furry community has a pretty open mindset that's relatively inviting. And you know, that's kind of impressive in a way. You don't often see that. I think one of the reasons it sticks out to so many people is that it contrasts our social norms that we often expect. Because the thing about it is the fact that you can have an entire essay about all the positives about something, but the moment you see something negative, it's bound to stick in your head more than anything else. Okay, so take for example, you're on a dating app, right? And you see this handsome stud right here. And well, dapper, 24, likes long walks on the beach, eating sushi with friends, cock and ball torture, and watching anime. Okay, a bit of an overdramatic example, but I think you get the point. One of these is bound to stick out more than the rest. It's the watching anime part. Ultimately, we as humans will often find any reason under the sun to go against someone different than us. History often repeats itself, and a group of people that are vibing in fursuits is a pretty easy target for that. Also, by no means is the furry community perfect. That's something that furries themselves will tell you. Even in the interviews coming up pretty soon, that's brought up, but I felt like all of this was just worth addressing. Well, with all that said and done, I think it's about time the furries talk about themselves, not me on their behalf. So, let's get to those interviews.
I wish you'd say that in the first question you throw is like a fucking hardball. Oh.
So how do you feel about the fact that a furry happened to destroy half of the ecosystem last year?
I couldn't be more proud of this community. I couldn't.
By the way,
That's
we
how
are
you make your
recording now.
mind right. Oh shit, I take that back. That was all a joke. My lawyer has advised me to clarify. I meant to add in Minecraft at the end of that
In
sentence.
Minecraft. I'm going to kill you in Minecraft. It's fine.
In Minecraft. It doesn't count.
Okay, well, I think the best way to start this off is for you to introduce yourself. So go ahead.
Yeah, sure. All right. Yo, what's up? I'm Bindle, part of the furry community. I've been in here for probably about, officially, like, probably 3 or 4, yeah. Because everybody starts out in the kind of outskirts, so you don't just jump into it with, like, a full account. But, like, I was dipping my toes into it probably when I was really young, and then, like, 4 years ago is where I really started getting into it.
I am Blizzy Fox. I mostly go by Blizzy. I make animations, I do furry art, I make these avatars, and I make clothing for them, and I sell them to fund my energy drink addiction.
Nice. I have a coffee addiction myself, honestly. So how would you define a furry? Like, what is a furry to you exactly?
I would describe it as people who enjoy anthropomorphic characters and enjoy presenting themselves as anthropomorphic characters. I think everyone kind of has their own idea about what it means, and some people who I would probably call furries would not call themselves furries, and vice versa. And that's kind of the fun of it.
You see, I would honestly say anything that's not human but anthropomorphized. You get the point. It really just depends how much you want to like pull details and such, because you've got like furries, scalies. I've seen like whole unique species. Like people get really creative with it. So I can't really just say like this is what a furry is, because I know like a year or two later there's probably some new shit that's gonna come out and it's gonna disprove me wrong. But you know, human-like. Anything that's not human but human-like.
And how exactly did you join the furry community? Did you just like wake up one day and be like, hey, that's pretty good? Or like, was there something that occurred?
You know, I probably would say it was just, I wouldn't even say it was like woke up. It's like I always thought it was interesting, but like it has some stereotypes, some of which are somewhat accurate, and so I wasn't eager to really group myself with it. And even to an extent, like in real life, I would never own up to this. You can be in real life and be like, hey, this is you, and I would deny that shit until I die. But you know, it really is just like in like the space of anonymity where I could just be whoever, not really worry about the consequences. It's like I think the community is really interesting, and like the art that's come from it, like characters and such. Like I don't know, I couldn't see a reason like why I wouldn't like it. Like in all honesty, it was a creative field. It was like what would I gain from just shit talking it?
It was on here basically, and it was mostly just by luck or accident for the most part. I'd always been interested in it, but never active in it. I enjoyed and the art, and I tried to make the art myself, but I'd never actually interacted with other furries or anything. I was just kind of like a furry hermit. But getting on here and sort of starting to use these avatars and try to express myself, I ran into other people who, you know, were furries and who enjoy the same kinds of art and making these avatars. and just finding all of these interesting people who have these really nuanced and interesting ways of expressing themselves through the way they present themselves virtually was a big draw to me, just always coming back and trying to meet more people.
So basically, it was kind of like the expressive side that brought you to the furry community then, huh?
Yeah, I would say the expressive side, like the art form in general, because it really is drawing that line of like every time you see a comic that's anthropomorphized. Oh fuck, I'll get it eventually. With like the animalistic creature, it's like, are you just gonna hate on it because they're animals? Like the medium could still be really well done. And I think it's what drew it to me. It was just a creative medium that I really enjoyed.
It's awesome, and I look up to a lot of the people who make some of the more unique and interesting avatars. Like Jin makes a whole bunch that I really like and took inspiration from their Wicker Beast and their Ampwave. And then there's also a lot of the hybrids tend to be my favorite, like the Tiger Bee, and like I see a lot of similarities to sort of furry culture and cosplay culture as well, whereas like the main difference would probably be for a lot of like your sort of more mainstream cosplay, like Comic-Con and stuff like that. People are going to the convention and cosplaying as their favorite character. When you're a furry, or if you have an OC or any kind of thing like that, and that you cosplay as, you're just cosplaying as a character that you created. Whereas people are obviously always fans of their own characters, people will also be fans of other people's characters, and that's kind of like where a lot of things kind of happen, where like, you know, people will go to a furry convention just to see essentially just some person who came up with this character and who does this art, but then that character is also like kind of famous. It's this interesting sort of duality, and like I don't know how or if a lot of people separate it. For me, it's still mostly separate. I have like an IRL life, and then I have like my sort of furry life, but like they're kind of leaking into each other a lot, especially now that my mom found my Fursona.
Oh.
But
Oh.
I'm thankful to have a great relationship with my parents, and it's funny that they know what my Fursona's name is, because it's something that like is much more of a private part of me in real life than, you know, some other things.
I feel that though, just because like my mother has always supported me in my YouTube channel for the most part. But God, when I got that call from her asking about, honey, why are you buying a maid outfit? What is going on? It was an interesting conversation.
The VR was originally, I was on my main account. It wasn't named Pendle. It was actually my username that I use with IRL friends. But in doing so, I didn't do certain things because I was worried, like, you know, if somebody sees me and I'm like in a video or something that has my name, my friends are gonna know me. So I made an alt account. I don't know. I think it's been really great. I've got to do whatever the hell I wanted. That's why I'm wearing this.
Wait, and so a lot of your friends don't actually know that you're a furry then?
Oh, dude, there's only one guy who. No, there's two guys. I fucked up twice. But other than that, I kind of hope to keep it that way. But so if you're watching this and you do know me, don't fucking bring it up. Or if you do, don't fucking call me out, alright? Fuck, dude.
Yeah, just remember, his name is totally not Pendle, and his real username isn't.
It's just fucking. He lives at 1234 Real Street.
Is there like a reason exactly you're afraid to tell them per se?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the exact reasons because of like the negative stereotype that for most people when they think of furry, it's like the same thing when you hear the term like weeb, or like you think of somebody who really loves anime. You know, like that negative click that instantly pops in your head. The same thing clicks with me, and I'm like, all right. It clicks in my head, and I like it. So imagine how everybody who's not involved, it's gonna click in their head exactly like that. And I don't want them to see me like that.
So you said you've been a part of the furry community for about like a year and a half or so now. What's it been like so far for you? Tell us a little bit about that.
There's been good things and there's been bad things. It's mainly been like a good way for me to connect with other creative people and also sort of explore parts of myself that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to otherwise. Like in my regular day-to-day life, I've never had any sort of ability to explore the LGBT community or any sort of like gender expression or those kinds of things. And that's something that's very easy to do in VR, and something that's also very very accepted in the furry community. I mean, like, we're not even like displaying ourselves as humans. We display ourselves as whatever we want. And so like a lot of that sort of ability to experiment and try new things and learn new things about myself is one of the biggest things that I would say it was a really positive takeaway from sort of getting into the furry community on VR.
It's been good overall. It's definitely been good. Most of this applies to VRChat as a whole. There's a lot of issues, most of which are with the clicks, where like I like to go on pub worlds because I don't pop on fairly often, so it's hard for me to make like really strong connections. So I usually hop on pub worlds, and the same thing happens where it's like, all right, there's a click in front of a mirror, that's it. Like there's no getting in there. The one thing I will say, because I wasn't doing a furry thing like the whole time. When I originally made this account, I was mostly just hopping in Black Cat, like warming up. So I'd say there's a really big difference from probably getting hit on. Yeah, you probably get hit on a lot more. Of course, not all of them, but like there is it's way more acceptable to be like hitting on people and like loot and shit like that. In certain settings, you know, most worlds now, but you do see it more often in my opinion and from my experience.
Can I tell a goofy story?
Yeah, of course, definitely.
When I first tried VRChat, I found a public, I don't know what the name of it is. It's the Fortnite Fox, one of the older ones. Their fox skin. Anyway, I found a public of that, and I went to a random public world, and I got surrounded by 8 children in Enderman avatars making weird noises at me and trying to bully me for being a furry. I would be lying if I said it didn't make me upset, but saying that I was upset by 8-year-olds bullying me really makes me sound pathetic. But it was annoying enough that I didn't pick up VRChat for like another year, and then I only got back into it when I started wanting to make custom avatars. That was like my first experience with VRChat.
Oh,
and it's been uphill from there. So.
Okay, well, I'm glad that it's gotten better since then.
You run into a lot of negative stuff, and you just in the furry space in general, you run into a lot of negative stuff, but it tends to be a lot of the same negative stuff, and so you kind of really quickly learn to tune it out. You're like, I've never ever been seriously bullied for being a furry, and I know there are some people who have. It's always just kind of been a thing that like I enjoy, and it's essentially my hobby. And I feel like it's not like everything about me. It's my hobby, it's my art, it's that sort of thing. And so like when people sort of try to attack it or try to bully me about it, it doesn't affect me too much, especially because a lot of it ends up being same sort of stuff. Like a lot of the hate comments like I'll get on my TikTok end up just being the same thing. And then you like occasionally there'll be one that's like actually hurtful, but then I'll click on their profile and I'll see that they're like a 16-year-old when their profile picture is like a 4-wheeler, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. If you can just see into like just past that sort of like anonymity, it gets really funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there is one thing that does need to be addressed, and I would like to hear your opinion, like, why exactly do you think the furry community gets such a bad rep with the internet online? Especially considering the fact that, like, throughout the last couple decades, they've been kind of dragged through the dirt in a lot of ways, you know?
It's like every community. It just takes a few bad apples to really leave that impression. It's like human nature. Most things we most things we experience that are good, we kind of forget about. But bad moments usually tend to stick better in people's memory, and the same thing applies with communities. And this one specifically draws some very unique and sometimes just downright disgusting characters that will easily stick in your mind. Yeah, hopefully people don't get the wrong idea of what I'm saying, but like there is some really bad characters. But yeah, no, it's a very valid point. Like I can't just be like, oh, it's great, there's no downsides, I don't know what we did. Like, no, dude, there's definitely a reason why they have the rap they do. Like people aren't crazy or even delusional to like look at it in that light. Like for example, there's a reason I initially thought of like a very negative context when I originally thought the furry community. So there was this one guy, I was chilling in this world, I was upstairs, I was just shooting the shit in the public lobby, and this guy pulls up the stairs. I wasn't really paying attention because he just wasn't part of the conversation. He was kind of like way off there, and he made a beeline straight to me, like broke through like 2 people, and I was just like, hey, he was like, Bindle, I want you. And I was like, bro, you can't just hit me with that. Like, first off, I don't swing that way. Second off, I don't know you. I mean, I don't know. It was a very nice compliment, but it was like, I don't know how to respond to this. It was like kind of a mental reset moment right there. So there are like moments where I'm like, yeah, the community has a rap for a reason. I guess that's what I was boiling down to. Like, people like that do exist. I'm sure he's not a bad guy, but you don't usually hit on people that you don't know like that, you know? And most people are really polite about it, though. Like, most people that actually do, like, hit on you are usually polite, and they test the waters. So that was just, like, a very, odd experience, but still a funny one. It's hard. It's like with the Pew Bad Apple thing. It's kind of every community. Like, the comparison I would draw most to is, like, anime people. Like, people watch anime. You think that and you think weeb. But obviously, like, nowadays that it's socially acceptable, you can watch anime without being a weeb. Like, everybody who watches it is like in their mom's basement with like a body pillow, Yeah, like the bad communities make the image, but in reality, most people are pretty chill.
Part of it's probably tradition. I mean, like, literally something that I've known other furries to say is like, furries have been the internet's punching bag since 1990.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
It's kind of just a meme to dig on furries, like, and also, like, we're a bunch of weirdos. Like, that's no mystery. I mean, it's true. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna speak for everyone, but I am definitely a pretty weird person. I don't think being weird is bad, but like, not everyone's gonna like being weird. I'm sitting alone in my room with a TV on my face, talking to someone who I've never met before for a YouTube video. That's pretty like non-standard behavior. Like, really, I think it's a lot of people who don't understand it or are made uncomfortable by certain things that or other preconceived notions about it as well. Like, I think people think it's all about the sort of character or the lewd stuff or like things like that, but like really it just comes down to like, at least for me, it's very big on like how you express yourself and like just being free to just be whatever the heck you want to be, right? Is like the biggest thing in the furry community for me. And like a lot of people don't see it like that, especially if they've not interacted with furries before.
All right, well, I believe that basically wraps everything up. So is there anything else you'd like to add at the end of this for everybody to hear?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, like, I guess the only thing I'd want people to know is that, like, I'm not some fucking spokesmanship. I'm just a normal dude. Yeah, so just take what I shit with a grain of salt. Like, that I could just be, like, either really lucky or unlucky, depending how you see it. I'd say I'm probably, like, right in the middle. Like, I'm not anything special. I can't, like, say, this is how it is. Like, this is what it is, and if you're not listening to me, you're wrong. Like, I'm just a dude. Take what I say with a grain of salt, and that's it, yeah. Make your own conclusions.
Being a furry's fun. That's it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, like, go explore things. I don't know, just go do something that, like, puts yourself out of your normal comfort zone and see if you like it. And if you hate it, that's fine too. You never have to do it again, Go talk to people you wouldn't normally talk to. Unless you're in Walmart and that guy looks really weird and smells bad. Don't talk to that guy. Be safe, but also be risky.
Alright, well, fair enough.
I'm sorry. Is that good? Do we keep that one?
Yeah, definitely. Alright, well, I think that does it. There goes the interviews. I hope that they were a bit enlightening in some sort of shape or form, and just the video overall. I find the whole topic absolutely fascinating, and this is another prime example of all the different subcultures that you can find in the virtual world. It's fascinating to me that there's so many people that come together in a community like this just to enjoy the things that they love, and virtual reality allows them to do so much more than they might normally be able to do. Ultimately, I'd love to hear some feedback in the comments below, whether the fact that you loved the video, you hated it, or even if your mind just changed around full 180. There are a ton of different ideas I have for this Degenerates Digest series, so I hope you guys will look forward to that in the future. With that said, I'd love to give a shout out to everybody that was part of the interview, so some of their links will be down below, and then also Spooki for letting me use his music for the intro. I would like to add at the end of here that, well, I'm happy to be back, and I'm really happy to see you guys again. It's been a minute, not only when it comes to the documentaries for sure, but actually just videos in general. For those who don't know, I just got done moving and everything, and there's a lot of other family issues. Check my I'm homeless video if you haven't already, link in the description below. But it's finally about that time that I can settle in and start making the videos I enjoy so much. Also, I'd recommend joining the Discord if you haven't already, because that's where I talk about a lot of stuff earlier than everywhere else. And I even have some ideas for some big fun events that we're gonna do in there soon. If you have time, maybe consider becoming a member so you can encourage my unhinged content a little bit more. But honestly, at the end of the day, all I can ask is have a wonderful night tonight, and as always, stay down.